Hello, and welcome to today's City Club Forum. My name is Ralph Delarada, and I have the privilege this year of serving as president of the City Club of Cleveland. City Club of Cleveland was established in October of 1912, and it has served as one of the nation's premier public podiums for civic dialogue, covering the most pressing topics of our time. Our guest speakers, who are rich in experience and knowledge, are here to spur discussion and learning among the citizens of Cleveland, as well as to our wider national audience. Today, I am proud and honored to introduce our distinguished guest today, Ambassador Clark T. Randt, Jr. He is currently the United States Ambassador to the People's Republic of China. I did not know this until a few minutes before, that he is also a Clevelander, was born and raised in Cleveland until he was 16, and currently an accomplished tennis player and a student at University School, so we're happy to have him back in Cleveland. Since his Senate confirmation in July of 2001, Ambassador Randt is in fact the longest-serving U.S. ambassador to the PRC in history. As one can imagine, representing United States interests to one of the world's top emerging superpowers can keep one pretty well occupied, especially considering how the U.S. and China do not completely agree on numerous important issues. Ambassador Randt has been at the forefront of dialogue on these issues. He represents America's interests by urging China to continue to liberalize on a host of topics, including human and intellectual rights, global trade and the economy, the environment, and the transition to a multi-party democracy. There are still several factors that invoke tension between our two nations. For example, China's recent clashes with Tibetan Buddhists, its ongoing currency manipulation, and its hesitancy to help broker peace with problematic states. These at times have strained our relations. Furthermore, other major sticking points are free trade issues, United States budget deficit, and of course Taiwan. However, significant progress has been made in aligning China's interests with those of the United States and for the betterment of our planet. Beijing has notably contributed to the six-party talks on denuclearizing the Korean Peninsula. Additionally, the Chinese government has slowly but steadily loosened controls over several aspects of its citizens' lives, thereby enabling them to enjoy greater freedom than any other time in recent history. Ambassador Randt emphasizes that China is not an adversary, but is rather an essential strategic and economic partner with whom the United States can enjoy a prosperous and peaceful future. Continuing constructive and candid dialogue is vital and in the interests of both nations. Although the Middle East has taken the foreign relations spotlight on the campaign trail, both Senators McCain and Obama agree on the importance of China and further U.S. engagement. Clark Randt spent 30 years as an Asia-based lawyer in China before becoming ambassador. He headed the China practice of Sherman and Sterling and is a true expert on Chinese law and also a member of both the New York and Hong Kong bars. Prior to his law firm practice, Ambassador Randt served as first secretary and commercial attaché at the U.S. Embassy in Beijing. He has also been the China representative of the National Council for United States-China Trade, a member of the United States Air Force Security Service, and a former governor, first vice president of the American Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong. Ambassador Randt received his bachelor's degree from Yale University in 1968 and his JD from the University of Michigan in 1975. He additionally attended Harvard Law School, where he was awarded the East Asia Legal Studies Traveling Fellowship to China. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a true honor for me to introduce such an insightful and experienced diplomatic figure. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Clark T. Randt to the City Club.
Thank you, Ralph. And thanks to the City Club. It's a great honor to be here, and thanks to the United States Chamber of Commerce, Myron and his colleagues for help arranging today's program. It's great to be home again. As many of you know, as Ralph just mentioned, I was born here and share the joys and frustrations of being a lifetime Browns and Indians fan. And in fact, I have something I can report to you that As a fan of the Browns, I share this with Secretary Rice. This is a little-known fact. In her office, she has a Cleveland Browns helmet. When she was growing up in Birmingham didn't have a football team, and so she would the broadcast they got every weekend was the Cleveland Browns. So she is a big Browns fan and often speaks to Coach Cornell after games. Is a good friend of Coach Cornell. So she and I, when she visits Beijing or I see her in Washington, we amongst all the other things we have to talk about, we check on the Browns. We were both happy that the Browns chose linebacker Bo Bell as their number 1 draft pick. But we're both sorry to see they're off to a slow start this year. Today, my plan is to discuss the most important bilateral ship in the world. And it won't surprise you to hear that I'm talking about the relationship between the United States and the People's Republic of China. As this winter will mark the 30th anniversary of both China's policy of opening up and reform and of United States-China diplomatic relations, it's appropriate to look back at how far we've come. President Nixon wrote in his historic 1967 Foreign Affairs article that, taking the long view, we simply cannot afford to leave China forever outside the family of nations, there to nurture its fantasies, cherish its hates, and threaten its neighbors. At the time, this call for strategic engagement with Communist China from a leading anti-communist was nothing short of astounding. But China, in fact, has come a long way from then. I remember my first visit in 1974. I was awakened every morning. We have to see China in the historical perspective, I think, is helpful. And in 1974, I was awakened in Beijing. I was awakened every morning by loudspeakers exhorting me to criticize Confucius and Lin Biao. When I went out on the street to try to talk to people, just ordinary people, to ask directions or practice my Chinese, their eyes would widen and they'd flee from me in terror. And I know my Chinese isn't that good, but it wasn't just that. It was, they would be reported for talking to me. What are you doing with this? Why are you talking to this foreigner? He's just asking directions. Sure, Madam Wang, come with us. Today, almost all observers recognize the important interests that we share with China, not only in stability, peace, and prosperity for our peoples and our nations, but also in global health, environment, and energy security, to name just a few. These past 30 years have witnessed one of the most significant and powerful events of our lifetime, an event that touches each of us, and that's the emergence of China. Today, I think most Americans are well aware that China has and will continue to have a tremendous impact on our lives, on the prices we pay, on the stability of the global financial system, how we deal with the common threats we face, and even with respect to the very quality of the air we breathe. The dramatic events of this year have made Americans aware of the tremendous changes in China. 2008 has been a year of triumph and tragedy for China. China is still recovering from the devastation of the May 12th Sichuan earthquake. Nearly 70,000 people perished, many of them children who died when their schools collapsed. The quake has left 5 million Chinese citizens homeless. The government's response to the quake demonstrates China's increasing openness. When an earthquake struck Tangshan near Beijing in 1976, it was treated as a state secret. No foreign assistance was allowed, even though upwards of 250,000 people died. Foreign journalists weren't allowed to visit Tangshan until 1983, 7 years afterwards.